I feel like the 49ers have a bright future, and especially seeing some things right after the preseason game. Um, I was very happy to see what DeShaun Stribling was doing. And it's something that I feel like the 49ers have not experienced a lot. Just that big catch he had. The last time I remember anybody doing that was Debo Samuel, like maybe, man, um, I don't even know. I think it was about 3 years ago on Monday Night Football when the 49ers were playing the Giants at home. And he had a like over the shoulder catch, and I thought it was like the greatest thing because that's not even like in Debo Samuel's bag. And um, I seeing this now with Stribbling, I hear what they're saying now, and I wasn't somebody that was like, oh yeah, we got Stribbling because I wanted Boston. So I wanted Boston, but Stribbling has been showing out, doing all the right things. He had a little hamstring issue that he got over, went back to practice, and then played in the preseason game. And I think he was looking good. I mean, let's see. His stats were he got targeted 8 times, had 7 receptions, and 63 receiving yards, 9 yards per reception, and that long reception was 32 yards. So, and he was the team's leading receiver. I know it's preseason. I know it's preseason game one, but he was also getting the ball from you know Rourke and Adrian Martinez. So um, I gotta commend him on that, on just making the progress that he's needed to do, and um, I really like what I saw, and it gives me hope because then I started thinking, well, if Stribling makes progress this year, has just a decent year, and then you know Ricky Pearsall, heals up, and he comes back and he's just regular his own self minus the injuries. That might be the start of a pretty good core, a quick core, and I just kind of like the way the future's looking, and yeah. Now let's get into some of these bullet points here. Okay, basically on Stribling. Okay, what has DeJohn Stribling shown that has caught your attention? Um, for me, I definitely like that over the shoulder catch, and I just like how he's not like overzealous. He's not like don't got a big mouth. He's just there to work. He's heard the chatter of like you know why was he picked the first pick of the second round by the Niners? And it just seems like he's kind of zoning that out, knowing that the receiver core needs help, and he just got his head down and he's putting in the work. So that's what I like. He seems to be very focused with the talent that he has. Okay. What separates him from the other young receivers? Um, I just think while it's not completely shown that they have the utmost faith in him yet because he's young, I feel like the 49ers are not going to screw up this situation. Um, and I feel like, their whole like, oh, we don't want to like put the whole weight or a big load on a young receiver coming out of college. I feel like they're going to be forced into that hand, and I feel like Stribling does have more responsibility on him, but I think he's a player and a guy that could honestly carry that load without, you know, um, struggling or showing that it's too much of a weight to be put on his shoulders. So I really like that about him. Does he look like a camp or preseason story? I don't think so, especially after it came out that, he was very highly touted in the draft, and people say that the Rams were going after him and others were going after him, and that he quite possibly could be the best receiver in the draft. So I don't think it's just like a story right now that like once the season starts, we'll be like, who is DeShaun Stribling? I think he's going to be a major factor, especially with the injuries that, you know, the 49ers have had. And I feel like, you know, Mike Evans stays healthy, Debo stays healthy, I think this guy could be like, possibly like a third or other option that might just kind of get forgotten about. That could be a big key for us to getting long gains down the field and being an extra secret weapon. So that's what I do like. And how could Kyle use his skill set? Well, I think he's big. He could move great. And I just think when Kyle Shanahan has more receivers to deal with, he gets very much more dangerous as a offensive genius. And I think that's what he provides. But also on the Kyle Shanahan thing, that I got kind of nervous because Kyle, like when they asked him, oh, how do you think DeShaun did? And he was very stern about him. He was just like, you know, he has some things to work on and to learn and everything. I like that, but then I don't, because I remember him doing the same crap to Brandon Ayuk, to where he kind of scolded him in practice, and and as far as Ayuk doing good, and he's just a hard head coach basically. And I think that could have been the start of what happened to, Brandon Ayuk, to where Brandon Ayuk was like, screw you. And I remember when that incident happened with the 49ers, that they kept showing like Ayuk's picture. And I'm like, dude, in a year, we're not even going to know who this guy is anymore. Like you could just tell, maybe there's a differences, and Kyle might have been like wanting to get him out or just kind of like push him down to the bottom of the roster. So I hope he's not doing that with Stribbling. Stribbling, by all means, has been a good guy in camp. Uh, hitting his strides with everything he has to do. Only been out, I think, maybe 1 or 2 days of training camp. And I think Kyle Shanahan, he knows what he's doing, but do not just squash this guy like you did Ayuk in the beginning of his career. I feel like you have to have DeShaun Stribling in to build his confidence as an NFL wide receiver, and just keep building on that, keep building on that. And I think he could turn into like another weapon, because I see, as far as maybe next year, him being like maybe a 1 or 2, because you don't know where Mike Evans is going to be as far as getting to the end of this season. So come on, Kyle, don't do it. But okay, could Stribling eventually get and earn legitimate regular season snaps? I think he's gonna get that by default anyway, because you know, we gotta start building these young players, and Stribling is a highly touted guy out of Ole Miss, and he could do his thing, and we need to build off that, because we're just getting nostalgia guys like like Debo and stuff. Like, who knows if Debo is even here next year? We gotta start getting the 2 and 3 receivers, really solidified. And I believe that he's gonna pretty much get a starting role. I see him as maybe going from a 2 to a number 4 receiver as far as the wide receivers' health this season. So I definitely see him getting major action. what is Stribling's realistic ceiling? I mean, after one preseason game, I think that's kind of hard to, say, but I think if he keeps showing signs of progression, I think he could be like, as far as, I really need someone to stand out to be a number one, but I think he could be a number two option, and I think he has that potential. And the 49ers need that. So, Kyle needs to keep doing what he's doing to make, Stribling progress. And I think he does have a real high ceiling. That, I mean, even as far as he could really have a blowout year, maybe even next year, because you can't really count on rookies, but the Niners have to count on him right now, and that might even boost up the acceleration on him, kind of heading towards that ceiling. So it's really a time can tell thing. So that's how I feel about Stribling, but I like what we got right now in him. So is San Francisco, the 49ers, finally building its next generation instead of relying entirely on veterans? I would say no. I think like maybe they took their first step in it. Um, but I feel like their good pick was DeShaun Stribling. But you got to look at other question marks right now. The other rookies like Halton is showing like flares. Um, the big question mark right now, and it's still early. Everybody's getting on me because I say this, but it's still early. Is Romello Height, man? Um, I feel like he can go either way right now, but I've heard a lot of negative stuff in training camp with him, and the fact that he had a play where he got really like demolished against the Titans. We really would like to expect a lot out of him, but who knows where he's kind of going. And um, I think we got a lot of like young core people, but they got to step up and prove that they want the spot, because right now I think it's kind of up in the air. I think the 49ers like brass is like too scared to invest in the future. That's why they're just keep getting veterans, keep reeling them in, and I don't know if they feel like they're exactly there where they got to like rebuild. We got to focus on the young core yet. Um, I've been saying I feel like this is the last year of the 49ers window, because I feel like if we're not successful this year, next year we really got to like start the rebuild process. We got to go completely young and just start building on these young players, getting them quality like game time snaps, and building for the future. So I think they're, at least this could be a last season where they're really relying on the old geezers or the veterans. Is the 49ers future brighter now than it looked entering the offseason? I think so. I think the big glaring offseason acquisition was, Mike Evans, and that's just like a dream receiver to get, you know. And then I think us drafting, Stribling was a definite move in the right direction, even though everybody just kind of like went on Kyle, like, what the hell are you doing, including myself. I think that was a good pick that, could be something substantial within the next like 3 years. And, you know, just the, who knows what's going on with Nick Bosa, but tendonitis. Let's see if the fatigue gets him back, because he was looking, really good early in training camp, and then we traded for Osa Diguzua. So I think he's like underrated piece that we got that's really going to help us this season. And some other acquisitions we got that might kind of dim the brightness is like Christian Kirk, man. Like, I think he maybe the first or 2 days of training camp he participated, but now he's like kind of limited. So you're hoping he'll be ready for week one. Um, and I overall those are the guys on the top of my head that I'm thinking about, and um, I think, especially with the secondary moves that we got, like Jack Jones, we got Hobbs. Like, I like those pieces along with our younger guys like Prysock. I like these moves, and I think this is one draft slash off season that I could really say that we should look to actually praise Kyle and John Lynch a little bit, because now as the season's like coming rapidly, like I feel like we got some good guys that could definitely grow this season. So I definitely do feel like the future is brighter. Who is the young 49er you're most excited about? Um I'm gonna say Stribbling. Like, I don't think we've had like a real great receiver like that in a long time. Because as much as people are gonna go, oh, Ayuk, I always considered him like a number two or a number three. Um, and he wasn't like a prototypical like head guy, or number one guy. So I like Stribbling. I want to see where he can go, and like what he could do, like how much of an impact that he could make this season. Because even though it's his rookie season, this is a big season for Stribbling because we really need him. So in the time of need, let's see how he steps up. And also, I want to say, just as like um a runner up guy is Prysock. I really like that we drafted him. I probably like that we drafted him more than Stribbling. Um, and I think he's going to be a good, secondary guy for us because that's what I was worried about. I was worried about. It seems like the Niners like weren't going after offensive line guys, and um, they weren't going after really secondary guys, especially in the draft. And I'm just like, it just kind of feels like our secondary was really short, with with Stout and Mustafa and stuff. So I like that we went after Prysock. He's highly touted, out of Washington, and I think he could be a big piece for us. Because me, I'll get pushback for this, but I'm not like crazy high on Lenore. Like, while he's good in coverage and everything, I feel like to accelerate our defense of kind of getting back to form, we need him to make a couple like plays. We need like I feel like I will get off of him if he has 4 to 5 interceptions this year. I think he had one last year, but like that's why I feel like Prysock is so important because um I feel like Lenore, he says he's a number one back in the league, but I don't think like he's really lived up to that. And that's my opinion. So you could come back at me, leave it in the comments if you feel like I'm talking crap about Lenore, which I don't feel like I'm doing. But yeah. Um let me see. Okay. Are the 49ers set up to contend for the next 3 to 5 years? Um, it's hard to say because I'm kind of trying to see like what the 49ers actually want to do. Are we going to try back with the veterans next year and just completely try to rebuild with young guys through the draft while we have veterans here? I don't know if we're gonna do that. Then to me, this is our last season. We're really in contention. But if next year we're going after, just the youth, and we realize that we gotta, you know, really focus on our young core. Um, I think that maybe in those 3 to 5 years we could be back to contention. But if we still run this, this old team, which I don't want to bang on old. Like I feel like sometimes some of the the older players kind of shock you, and they're actually really good. And I think in the time we're at now, a lot of the stuff with career end guys now, they're coming back from, they're stronger and stuff like that. So I feel like the next 3 to 5 years, we got Brock Purdy. I think, we got CMC, but Um, we got hopefully we could build Black into being the back of the future. I'd really like that. And then we got a good receiver core as far as the younger guys. Like I'm really hoping that Jordan Watkins makes the team because that could be a good three guy tandem. Maybe Ricky Pearsall when he's healthy, Stribbling, um, and then um, Jordan Watkins. So I don't know. Um, I guess I'm kind of undecided about the 3 to 5 years, but everybody's getting older, so I think we might fall into like the Golden State Warriors kind of level to where we're trying our hardest to get everything out of the old guys we can, but we might just have to kind of rebuild unexpectedly. And I think we're in the midst of like starting that, but um, I also think it's going to come sudden too. And I think we might be inching towards that, but I kind of think I can't make a real incredible take on that until this season's over or we start to see how this season starts to take shape. But that's just me. And just one thing, I guess I'll close it out with this is everybody in the comments, like that always got to say, you don't know ball, which if you say you don't know ball and you don't have an explanation after that, it means you don't know what you're trying to say and you don't really have an argument to the take I have. So, this is just my opinion, and people have been really getting on me saying, oh, you're not a 49ers fan. I'm just a guy that asks questions. I don't take everything at face value. I really dive in and I want to know what's going on. I'm going to question things, like the whole Kyle thing. I'm not completely sold on that, but I've gone into that like crazy much, so I won't dive into that. But you guys in the comments, like, gotta relax. Okay, I'm a diehard Niner fan, and um, you guys try to come for me just because you guys are the surface level fans, and most of the time, the people saying this stuff are people that know, um, do not know like football, and I'm just an opinion giver. And my teams are the 49ers and the Golden State Warriors. And I give straight facts and straight opinion, and not to sound conceited or anything, but when I put a uh opinion or a take out there on what I believe, I say like 90% of the time it ends up happening or I end up being right. I can be wrong and I correct myself when I'm wrong, but I'm going to keep doing what I do. So keep engaging with me, keep doing your thing, but I'm gonna keep giving my opinions because that's what I know how to do. But anyway, like always, make sure you smash the like button. Really helps the channel, and I appreciate you guys for that. And leave some comments. What do you think about Stribbling? What's his ceiling? Do you think he helps the 49ers this year, like immediately? drop those in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. Trying to build a community, like I always say, and um, that's it. That's all. This is the authentic take. Until next time, I'm out.